And of course, if you're like a medical professional and have to leave your phone on, we understand. So, or if you have one of the nuns that I used to practice with took care of her mother, so her phone was always on. Because her mother was ill and like in her 90s and all that. So let's get started by just taking a moment to check in with our bodies. And really, the purpose of this at the beginning of a class is just to remind ourselves to bring our mind here and not have it scattered out to whatever else you were doing earlier or whatever you're thinking about doing later or your worries about next week, whatever it is, just to try. And so if you just bring your attention to your body sitting here, that can help bring you to this moment and allow you to let go of wherever else your mind is taking you. So just check in with your body. And then try to remember the reason you came. And generate a positive motivation, positive intention to use your time well. It can be as simple as I'm going to set aside, all the things I'm thinking about, worrying about, and just try to listen this morning so I can take whatever resonates with me out to my day or later. So now let's recite the four measurables. That's on page 30 something 4. So the purpose of reciting the four measurables is just a definite frog in my throat. Is 34. Is everybody got it? So the purpose of this is just to remind ourselves that we're not alone, that there are a lot of beings out there, and that we want them to be happy and free of suffering just like us, just like we wish for ourselves. So it's just about keeping our heart, trying to encourage our heart to be more open and spacious and, think beyond just our own needs, but thinking about what others may be going through. Because of course, if we're in this room, we've got pretty good conditions, at least for this moment. So we're sheltered from the rain. We have a leisure time to choose a place we want to go to, as opposed to just have all those things that we have to take care of, and there's no room for anything else. Some people can't come on rainy days because because we don't have the facilities to have a covered entrance for someone with a scooter like Brian, so, not everybody's conditions are the same. So it's good to, try to, so we try to start these classes with this prayer, this wish, just to kind of keep ourselves more spacious. So the first, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So last week, I couldn't make appear my what was it, abracadabra wasn't working, so I couldn't make different things. So last week we were talking about that sometimes it can be helpful to have little tools to help us remember what we're trying to accomplish, and so, we're used to having that for tasks, right? For things so we have to-do lists. They might be on our phone, they may be in our head, whatever, but we have these, this like to-do list. And our mind can get completely lost in that, or you just forget that, oh yeah, that's right. One of my important things to do is to try to have a positive mind or work on, cultivating habits that make me happier, and try to refrain from those habits that don't work out so well. So, we forget. We just get caught up in all the busyness of our lives, and we forget the key factor. Because why do we do all these things of our lives? What's the point of that? Enlightenment. I like how she thinks. Katrina's on. I remember when I was just starting out, I was taking a Discovering Buddhism class, although it wasn't called Discovering Buddhism then because Discovering Buddhism hadn't been invented yet. So, but the facilitator was saying, somebody asked her, "What's the point of all this? What's the point of your practice?" And she thought about it, and she goes, "Oh, because I want to become enlightened." So that was great. So for those of us who aren't quite there yet, so why do you have these long to-do lists?
Keep on track.
To get things done, to kind of like have a clue what it was you were supposed to get done. Somebody else said something in this.
Create purposes in your life.
To create purposes in your life. So like once you're, like when you're young, perhaps, like, I don't mean young, I mean like starting a family or those kinds of young. You've got all these things because you've taken on the responsibility for children, perhaps, or you've taken on a career. And so you have all these things that you want to be successful in raising your children, to know what the world they'll be doing by the time they move out of the house, hopefully to be kind, participating human beings in the world. Those kinds of things. Or you have a relationship and you're trying to have a successful relationship. Yes, we have all these kinds of things. What's underneath all that? Why have a career? What's the purpose of that?
Satisfaction. Support yourself.
Okay, one is to support yourself. To be complete. Did someone say that?
Yes.
Okay, to be complete. So, okay. Satisfaction. Purpose. What's underneath all that? Why do we care about any of those things?
Benefit others.
Oh, would that be nice? Okay. If that occurs to you, yeah. But who's the first beneficiary? Ourselves.
Yeah.
We want to have a meaningful life. We want to do something, hopefully, that we enjoy. We want to, I don't know, I can't, I don't have children. So there's a part of me that can't imagine why people have children. But in my 20s, I could. I mean, in my 20s, I really wanted, I was keen to have children because I knew I'd do it better than my parents. And boy, was I ever wrong. But and I didn't even, thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness I didn't have children because I would have done a terrible job. But, so it goes. But, so we have reasons for doing this and we think it will be in some way fulfilling to us. Now, we also just have, like the basics, like we have to make a living. That's just a reality. Then we have, things that so in that, we lose track of the fact that we're doing these things because they're kind of necessary for our well-being. We need money because it's necessary for our well-being in the sense of our body needs things. We need shelter, we need food, we need whatever those other things are. Health care. There's probably something else. So I think there are 4 references. I can't remember. Clothes, shelter, clothes, food. Yeah, I never can remember a complete list. So that's just the way that's going to go. But so the idea here is that, of course, we do these things because they're necessary, but we try to imbue them with something that makes them nice for us to do as well. And that's about our own happiness and giving ourselves meaning and purpose. But we lose track of that. We forget. And so the purpose of coming up with tools to remind us of, what's in it for us that isn't about our physical requisites, or just our responsibilities, but that there's something in it for us, or we would like our life to have something in it for us, for our mind, for our heart, that makes it worth waking up another morning. And when we lose sight of that, it can make it very difficult to wake up another morning. You wake up and it's like, this is my day, Do I really have to participate? I hope none of you ever wake up like that. I know I have. That today was not one of those days. I just overslept. So having reminders of what you want for your heart can really add meaning to your life. And so Rinpoche, whenever there's a retreat, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's our spiritual director of all the FPMT centers, puts up all these signs around the retreat venue, or he doesn't literally put up all these signs, he has monks and nuns and students to help him with that. But he suggests, that perhaps it would be helpful if we had hints. And so so at one retreat, all these signs appeared. Cherishing others opens the door to every happiness for self and others. Think that everyone you meet is fulfilling all your wishes. Less desire means less pain. This one went on a tree, that's why it's narrow. If you're curious. More satisfaction, freedom, and peace. No desire means no emotional pain of attachment, anger, and jealousy. There is peace, openness, and space for genuine love and compassion to arise. Death could come any minute, so make your mind Dharma. I was at this retreat. No pleasure is new, so let go of the clinging that creates samsara. Less desire means less pain. He really wanted us to get this message. This came up a lot. Why would that be? What is it about desire?
Desire is about us rather than other people.
Yeah, first of all, usually our desires are, self-directed. Also, because it's not like we can desire to become enlightened. So it's not that all our desires are somehow, mistaken or confused or going to lead us to suffering. But in general, what is our desires, what are they for? Things that are impermanent?
That's correct.
But we don't know that, do we? But they go away.
So it's attachment.
forgetting the whole picture here. So let me interrupt. So, it's this idea that in general, if you just look at one day, like you woke up this morning, what was one of your first thoughts? I need coffee. Go back to bed. I need the bathroom. It's about external things. It's about, that coffee would, to wake up or whatever. I always get a cup of tea. So it's this external thing. It's not like I wake up and boy, I really should. Because I'm a nun. I should wake up and think, oh, yay, it's time to benefit others, So, but I'm aiming for that. That's what I want to wake up with. Right now, I'm settling for tea. Now, what are the odds of tea giving me the same meaning, that sense of fulfillment as wanting to wake up to benefit others? There's absolutely no comparison. So it's kind of like not very skillful. It's not a skillful way to think. Because it's really such a little, it's like, how small can we make our lives? I'm just like, ooh, my happiness is in this first cup of tea. So that lasts what, one sip? It's like our teachers often, Rinpoche and Lama Yeshe, often talk about thinking big, and that we think, oh, it's impossible, it's impossible, it's impossible, Well, what if it's not? What if it's actually possible to really change our minds so that it is really directed skillfully towards things that will make our lives meaningful? Because we know that, yes, getting these little things of temporary happiness is pleasant. It's nice to wake up and, have that cup of coffee or that cup of tea or have some breakfast, that you're looking forward to eating. Although, those things are nice, but they don't make our lives meaningful. We can all imagine that if all of a sudden, we're struck by lightning and we're thinking, whoa, I might die here. We're not thinking about coffee or tea or chocolate or any of those things because they really don't make our lives fulfilling. So we want to look at, are we filling our days with a mind that is directed towards what's important to us? It doesn't change what we do at all. It doesn't, it's about, what's the word I'm looking for? Attitude.
It's about dopamine.
Yeah, well, that's one, so that's the physical result of it, But we want to go beyond just the physical, because that's what getting coffee and tea and sex and all those things are about. It's more about, how do we generate that, the mental equivalent of dopamine.
The desire to direct your intentions just to things that would benefit you or your mind.
Yeah, and so it takes effort. But when you practice it a lot, if you remember to, okay, yes, I want my tea, but I'm also going to think about, what uplifts me, what makes my mind, what makes me feel engaged to life.
So the tea is not an end, that's
Well, no, the tea is just, it's nice if it's there. But if we have to have it to start our day, perhaps we're not practicing the things we need to practice with our mind. It's not that it's bad to have it. That's fine. Having it, it's fine. No problem. But if you've run out and you forgot to get it, at the grocery store yesterday, if you waste 1 minute of your morning thinking, I'm what an idiot. How am I going to get through this day? No. Wow. What a waste of time. Because the satisfaction from that cup of tea, cup of coffee is minuscule. Doesn't mean you don't stop on the way to work to get some, It's just about recognizing that directing our mind towards whether we get what we want or whether we didn't get what we want is not skillful. Because in effect, it isn't what brings us lasting satisfaction. That's just a temporary blip. And one way to help us do that is to practice remembering what matters. So instead of worrying about whether or not you remember everything you need from the grocery store, you remember whether or not you're going to be patient with the people who serve you in the grocery store. Or you remember whether or not you help someone with their groceries when they look like they were struggling with their 3 kids and the doors and the blah, 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 trying to put their groceries in the car, because that's the kind of person you want to be. You want to be helpful or benefit others because that's satisfying, because that feels good when you're done. So if we don't redirect our mind, which redirects our body and speech, we lose sight of that. We just forget. It's that simple because we're much more practiced in our whole society in the way we're brought up and, in the world, we're all directed towards this, this external stuff. Our economy depends on it, but that's a choice. We've created an economy that depends on purchase of things as opposed to purchases of services or education or, whatever. I mean, obviously we need things, but we also, that's not enough. It's not going to be, provide any kind of long-lasting meaning to our lives. So the idea behind signs like this is to, remember, so there's nothing like, racing for your cup of coffee in the morning, you see a sign, and you kind of go, yeah, that's right. Maybe somebody needs help first. Maybe, it's not just about me. Or I don't have to be the first one in line to make sure they still have hot water for my tea, whatever. I think it was at this retreat, if I'm remembering that correctly. It was cold. It was in Adelaide in May. It was cold. And so we all would fit, and in the Gampa, 4:30 or 5:30 a.m. or whatever, it was really cold. And in the teachings at night, it was really cold. So we'd all run to the kitchen area, the dining room area, where because this is, not America, they have these huge kettles that keep water hot for your tea. Well, we'd fill our water bottles with our hot water bottles so we could, not freeze. So, so then what are you thinking about? My hot water bottle. I need to fill my hot, we broke the machine. Anyway, so, but I mean, this is that I have to take care of and we rationalize, you go onto this wild ride of thinking, yeah, but if I don't fill my hot water bottle and keep myself warm, I'll just be shivering. I won't hear one single teaching, or I won't be able to do the practice, or blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's just total rationalizations, and it's not thinking about what great conditions you have, I mean, most people who wake up in the morning really, really cold are not in good conditions. We were in great conditions. We were having little inconveniences. So it's just, but that takes reorienting the way the mind thinks. It's about remembering that getting out the little stuff does not happiness bring. It is not the recipe for happiness. But we are so habituated to thinking that it is that we miss the bigger picture of where is our mind, because it isn't comfortable to be desiring something and have a fear that you're not going to get it. That's not a good place to be. So it's just this recognition that generally what we chase after really isn't going to mean much when we get it. And so trying to remember what does mean something, it really may benefit us. So it might be worth the effort. Any thoughts, comments, complaints? Question? So how can you provide this service for yourself?
Changing your mind.
Yes. But first, you need a tool. So if you want, yes, and
One way is to set an intention.
so one way is to try to set an intention from the very beginning of your day. So like maybe you go get that cup of coffee or that cup of tea or whatever, but you sit down and you set an intention. And so what do you need to do that?
Meditation.
Well, I mean, meditation helps. Sitting quietly helps. Yes, Melissa. Motivation. So you have to motivate yourself. And so what can help? What are kind of tools to help you remember to do that?
Little stickers.
Little stickers. We have Post-it notes. We have it. It's really easy. If you have mirrors, use whatever you call dry erase markers. Write yourself a note, so that it's something you see. I swear, I wish Google Glasses or whatever those were had become a thing so that they'd be cheap now, because I could really use all these little inspirational, motivational things just written across my glasses. It'd be fabulous. So, and then you can update them as needed. So we want to use those things. So if you're reading some Dharma, some text or whatever, and you run across a sentence that really resonates with you, write it down. Don't bookmark it. You can bookmark it, that's fine too, but write it down, because the actual, looking at it, reading it, then copying it, all of those things will help you remember it. And then if you post that somewhere that you can see it, then that will help you remember it. So these are not about, because we don't have to just remember. Oh, what was it? What was it? Write it down. Make a list of what motivates you. Make a list of what's important to you. And then find things that help you remember it. I know lots of people who have things on their dashboard of their car. I mean,
You can put it on the screensaver.
Especially on
phone
my
too. You look at it all day long.
yes,
bathroom mirror.
bathroom mirrors, refrigerators. This is we had all these verses we had to memorize. So if you were using one of the cars at or not, one of your own cars, but before starting the car, I know where I'm going. Thank goodness for GPS, right?
Yeah.
The car and I are one. If the car goes fast, I go fast. So then he would always say, of course, if you're driving on American highways, good idea to go a little faster, perhaps, because they'll get mad at you. So, mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind wrought. If with a pure mind a person speaks or acts, happiness follows him. If we do that, if with a pure mind a person speaks or acts, happiness follows him like his never departing shadow. So this gets to karma. So the Dharmapada, which is attributed to the Buddha, has like umpteen translations of it, but it's nothing but a series of you don't forget, try to remember this. Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. So last week I was talking about, like Shanti Deva's Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life has, and that's they're about a gazillion. I exaggerate. It's not a good habit, but I do exaggerate. So ignore any numbers I tend to give. There are lots of translations of this as well, Shanti Deva's book, and it's the, I won't embarrass myself. I'm trying to pronounce the Sanskrit title. Like Pema Chodron has a commentary on it in a book called No Time to Lose. There's an old translation of it. I mean, like there's several different copies of it in the library. His Holiness has a commentary on it. And then there are also just straight translations of it. It's just the verses. And it has chapters on cultivating alertness and cultivating patience and compassion and other things. But as I was saying last week, the language in these can feel dated or, like really appeased. Okay. So it's helpful to put it in your own words if you need to, so that it really, it's not awkward. Also, so that you can memorize it. Because eventually, if you use a verse often enough, you just know it, like songs, So that can be helpful. And then you can also find ones. So when I'm talking about it resonating with you, that you find something that's a thing that you're working on, that it matters to you to be a little kinder in speech to your kids or with your coworkers or your employees or, whatever, so that you find words that, kind of, those kind of like, oh yeah, that's right. I want to act like that. I want to think like that. That's what's going to help you. If there's something new you want to work on, that you realize, I really do have a problem with greed. I'm really kind of miserly. Then you would look for things written about that so that you could find, basically the advice of how you change that, how you look at it differently so you can see why such a state of mind is disadvantageous to you. That there's no benefit to you to have that mind. So irrigators regulate the rivers. Fletchers straighten the arrow. Isn't that what the feathers are called on this arrow shaft? Carpenters shape the wood. The wise control themselves. So, so I just went through, I was just going through this, picking ones. Better than 1,000 useless words is one useful word. Hearing which one attains peace. And so we need to remember this can be directed to ourselves. That if we can remember a useful word to inspire us to, shift our direction a little bit. If you're really working on something very important to you, like being kinder to your kids, the words that you use, the word choice, stuff like that. You can write it on your hand or someplace on the inside of your wrist. Good grief, everybody's getting tattoos. I don't recommend tattoos because your needs will change, So, but you could write something just as a mindfulness, like, oh yeah, kind. Yeah. So, and it's really important not to use these like slaps in the face. You don't need these words to punish you. These are words to encourage you to do something that you want to do. They're not about, scolding you. It's just about going, oh yeah, that's right. I don't want to get distracted by the busyness of getting all those jobs done and all those responsibilities done. I want to remember why I bother getting up in the morning. Or I want to start giving myself reasons that getting up in the morning, that if I direct my life a little differently, it will, make it wonderful to wake up. Any thoughts?
This is not easy.
Yes.
This is like totally training my mind.
Yeah.
I need to inundate myself first with inputs because I've been brainwashed one way for decades, let's say. And it's a total reorientation.
Yes, it is a total reorientation. The good news is, if you feel like you've been brainwashed, remember you did the brainwashing. It's that you practice these habits. That have you ever said to yourself, I can hear my father in my head. I can hear my mother's voice in my head. You're doing that. She's not there. So it's really important to recognize that we can change that. We put it there, we can take it out. So, I'm not saying that the condition of having the mom say it a gazillion times, I exaggerate, when you're growing up, doesn't have a condition for it to stick in your head. But the point is, she's not there. So you really can take it out. So we need to recognize that it's just our habits of mind. This is what we've done, and we practice this habit, and maybe we want to go, that's enough of this habit. Let's try a new one. And it takes effort. It's really not easy. I have been known to have, okay, I'm going to try not to exaggerate here. Like 37 of these in my house at any one time, where it's on the refrigerator. It's on, it's like Geshe Gallic for the Light of the Path. One of his favorite sayings is, he's at the Canal Center in Raleigh, is, think something good. So they got pens with it written on it. They had magnets. So I have one on my refrigerator, and I have one on my, the cover to the fuse box, which isn't a fuse box. What are they called now? Circuit breakers. And because there's not much magnetic anymore. Even the fronts of refrigerators aren't always magnetic. What a shame. It's such a useful tool. So, yes.
I have a story from yesterday because my mom's 93 and I see her twice a week. Well, she was over and she's just telling me how blah she feels. She feels neutral.
Yeah.
She has no excitement about her life, getting up in the morning and all that. And I said, Mom, that's not a bad place. And I learned this from you and from class and all, that you're either going to be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And I said it. And those words came out of my mouth, and I was like, wow, I learned something. I said something that meant something for the first time ever. And she listened. I couldn't believe she actually listened. And I think it made a big difference yesterday because she started thinking, well, I'm not unpleasant, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And maybe I can try to be more pleasant.
Or maybe you can be more comfortable with neutral.
And be comfortable with neutral, exactly.
That life doesn't have to be that. How many people, maybe none of y'all, but I know my 20s and 30s were really quite a bit like,
Unpleasant.
well, unpleasant is not even the word for it. But it's like a roller coaster from, whatever it was I was so desperate for to, just, oh. So that's, we get accustomed to thinking that that's what it makes life worth living, It's like, okay, I have to go bungee jump off the bridge today in order to feel like I've done something, something, I don't know. Now I can't even make sense of it. And I didn't do that either because, that wasn't my style of stupidity. So, you know, but it's just this recognition that what we're chasing may not actually be satisfying. You know, it may give us a temporary, you know, rush, but it, you know, that may just feed the desire for a greater rush, and it doesn't do anything. I mean, it's not, you know, all you can do is keep getting a bigger rush. It's just not going to go anywhere except for dissatisfaction. So, you know, being comfortable, yes.
Sometimes you have to dissociate or detach from the fear that holds you back, though,
Yes.
because a lot of times you see something, an opportunity to do something, and you want to do it, but then you start telling yourself things like, you know, it's much more easy not doing that. It's much more comfortable not confronting the fear of that, or whatever.
And so what is that telling us when we have those kinds of conversations with ourselves? What is underneath? What's the belief underneath that?
We're not capable. We're not good.
Well, that might be going on, but this idea
Fear.
that it's better to not have to do something that's difficult. It's better to not do something that makes you uncomfortable. It's better not. So, like, I'm really, really attached to the idea that goofing off is fun. It's not true. I mean, it's a lie. I get bored when I'm not, you know. I mean, it's a total lie, I tell myself. But it's still my first, you know, the thing that rises in my, oh, I don't want to have to do that. I want to just, you know, not have to do anything today. Oh, like, that's fun. But see, you know what I mean? So we have to recognize, what is this belief underneath this conversation? Is it true that it's easier to, you know, always stop myself from doing something? Maybe I could take that energy of stopping myself to try it and recognize that I don't have to commit to always trying it.
I've been using it as the impetus to go for it.
Yeah.
And I know that the consequences may be good or may be bad, you know, but I want to disrupt my habit.
Right. So this is the kind of things we have to choose. We have to look and go, okay, what's getting in my way? And then sometimes, I mean, literally, sometimes it can just be, I'm just getting in my way. It's not that there's some deep reason. It's just a habit. You know, I don't like to feel incompetent, so I don't like to try things new. So now I do nothing but try things. I mean, you become a nun, my goodness. There's nothing you know how to do. I mean, just like, you know, you're surrounded by all sorts of things you don't know how to do. And then you have teachers that just say, oh, you go do it. And you don't ask me to do that. You know, but then you do it, you know. It's like the first time I ever gave a teaching. Yes, you gal called me up at 9:30 in the morning or 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the morning said, I need you to do the teaching today at 11 or 10:30, whatever it was. And I'm going, you know, and you just kind of go, you know, for me, see, this is the great thing about my, you know, this stuff, you know, I didn't become a nun to say no, you know, I became a nun to try to help myself be a benefit to others, because I was really, really, really terrible at that. So, you know, but I made that choice. And so I have to make the effort to follow through on that choice because it's meaningful to me. You know, so it's also okay to make a choice and go, oh, I don't think so. You know, I'm not doing that again. You learn from it. You just kind of go, okay, that didn't work. Or that turned out not to be beneficial. I thought it would be beneficial, or I thought it would be helpful, but it wasn't helpful. You know, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to check up again and go, am I lying to myself or not? You know, we really do have to reflect on things, you know, and kind of keep looking. Are you sure? Are you sure? You know, just so, because we lie to ourselves. Our habits tell us things that are not necessarily meaningful, you know, so we just need to keep checking, you know, with fresh eyes. You know. So, and we need to get really familiar with our minds, just what's going on with our mind, because we'll start to notice, we'll get more in tune to being able to distinguish between, that what's making us uncomfortable. Like sometimes, we might decide that we're, not going to go have lunch with this group of people because they, you just decide, I know what this conversation is probably going to be like. I don't want to participate in it, so I'm not going to go. And then other times you realize, oh, I don't want to go with this group of people to lunch because, I'm intimidated. I don't like feeling incompetent. What is the advantage of being comfortable with being incompetent?
You can learn a lot.
You can learn a lot. You can become competent in all sorts of new things. Or at least you can have fun trying. Yeah.
You don't have to try to accommodate being something that you're not wasting energy on that.
Right. So it's just, it's a choice. It's about discovering just how many choices we actually have, and that our biggest obstacle is the way we think. So we just need to really recognize how we're thinking and find our own pace at trying to change it. Some things that just, we have to go really slowly and gently with. Other things, because of the importance of them, we may have to, jump in because it's so important. Like if you have some really nasty habits, you may have to just jump in and say, okay, I'm going to have to exert all my energy not to do that. It's like when you, like quit smoking or something. You have to really focus on it to succeed. So, there may be some habit that really need to change. And so you just really have to devote a lot of energy to that. And you have to be firm with yourself because it's such a destructive habit. But but you still have to find your way of supporting yourself through it. And so things like having a concrete written down list of things you value, and then a concrete written down list of the actions that support your values. And then having hints all around your house and your car and your, can help you, remember it, and then, and being gentle and patient with yourself for the 337 million times you don't listen to your note, But everything we do to kind of just put those words in our mind, eventually it's going to sink in a heavier, weightier method. It'll just be there. And then when you're out in some moment, it will arise for you and it will help you do something differently. So it's just some things you'll actually, you'll remember and you'll actually act on. And other things, it's like you just start storing it or something. But then the condition comes and all the pieces fall into place and you use it. So, it's not predictable how this flows. What is predictable is if you don't try, it won't happen. That's predictable. That's cause and effect.
You say putting yourself in one direction or one state of mind will generally will progress in a proper manner.
Well, there's cause and effect, and it doesn't just exist with you put your car thing in reverse and the car goes backwards. If the car is working properly, so there's that kind of cause and effect. But the mind, our mental actions also have a cause and effect. If you just, keep practicing anger or keep practicing impatience or keep practicing dissatisfaction, nothing's good enough. You are making it the result is you'll be angry, impatient, or feel like nothing's good enough. You are just training yourself to, direct your mind. So it's sort of like this. It's like, so trying to figure out how to like generate a motivation and then setting an intention that fits that takes a little thinking, So it's sort of like, you have to think about what is it that you can do that will support you in how you want to behave, how you want to think, So if, say, you know that you have a tendency to look at, at what's wrong with this picture kind of attitude, nothing's really very, you find it all kind of dissatisfying or, whatever, you want to have some supports. If you want to say, I want to change that, I want to start, then you have to look at, so you have these benefits. I think it'll be good for my mind if I quit focusing on being dissatisfied with things. That's not getting me anywhere, so I'm going to try something new. And so then you have to do some things to support that decision. What are the kinds of things you can do? Look for the good things. Well, one thing is to look for the good things. So you might even set yourself a little like, okay, what can I see that's good right now?
Practice gratitude.
Yeah, practicing gratitude. And you can write these things down if you need to. You put it in your phone. Oh yeah, that's right. I don't have to just look at all the things that are wrong with my job. I can look at the fact that I have a job. And a lot of people don't have a job. So we can, so you can just, and then you may have to write it down because how quickly do you forget? I had a friend who was a massage therapist. She had up on her, wall that she would look at when people would walk in about, how wonderful having a job was. And just, all the things that it allowed her to do, So sometimes we really have to, because our jobs aren't always satisfying. Even if we have a great job, it's not always satisfying, But most of us don't have great jobs. Most of us have, good enough jobs. But, so we have to recognize that that's good enough. So that's the thing. It's good enough. So, and that there are all sorts of benefits to having it that if you didn't have, you couldn't do. Because we do need money to eat and live and take vacations, and go to classes. So, so we really want to, you kind of just need to create, just like you do for your ordinary routines of life, of making a to-do list. You want a mental one. You want to remind yourself that, okay, yes, I can focus on the positive things. And if you have trouble with that, you might have to get help from a friend. And you tell me one good thing about my life today. If you're having a really hard time. I mean, we all have days like this, where it's just like, oh, you might not have days. I have days like this. So I don't have very many anymore, but I used to have a lot of them. So, and the great news with this, if you're really working on your mind, that our mind directs all of our activities. So our speech is going to change. So the way we do things, it may not change what we do, but the way we do things can change. And then at the end of the day, you're not lying there going, I can't believe I have to face those people tomorrow after what I did today. And you may not have had many days like that. I had many, many days like that. And so it's just, the more you're able to take charge of where you direct your mind, the fewer those nights you have. And it's lovely, So it's a really wonderful thing to rejoice in. And if you have a habit of not noticing progress, you really want to practice this. Really at the end of the day going, this is okay, good enough. So, and if it's not, you want to look at what's making it not that way. What choices am I making that's not so skillful? Yes.
I read a biography of Benjamin Franklin,
Mhm.
and he decided at one point in his life that he wanted to work on being a more virtuous man. So he had a little notebook and he wrote down just the first initials of, I forget, 7 virtues that he wanted to work on. And at the end of every day, he would review it and he put check marks where he thought he had done well and a minus where he thought he needed to do work. And those notebooks still exist. They're kind of, I saw a page out of one. I thought it was
That's
kind
cool.
of funny to see, Benjamin Franklin putting a minus sign under, speaking wisely or whatever. But at the end of every day, he reviewed it as a way of making himself. And he carried the little notebook with him all the time, even though he said he never looked at it during the day. Because just his presence in his pocket
Yes.
was a reminder.
Those things can be really helpful. So even just writing it on index cards and carrying it with you can help. Or like, it's really helpful. And if we do it in the morning, every morning, that will become a habit. And then it's just sort of like you've got this very fresh, intention that you can recall periodically through the day. And so that's helpful. So it's like Lama Zopa Rinpoche carries a little notebook with him all the time. He writes down things he wants to remember. He writes down quotes. He writes down all this kind of stuff. He writes down people to pray for. It's just, he keeps it all the time. And you'll frequently see him in classes where he pulls out the notebook and flips through a bunch of pages and finds what he was looking for. So it's a way to keep things fresh so that it doesn't just, it doesn't help that we read an inspiring book 3 years ago. We want to revisit. Because, the teachings on the path, there's not endless teachings on the path in the sense that, you need to learn thousands and thousands of texts. All those thousands and thousands of texts come back to the same things again and again. How you think, how you speak, how you act, how we misunderstand how things exist. So it's just, they're all about trying to find the thing that helps you remember, literally you, whatever student they're talking to. Yeah.
I have a hard time knowing what my feelings are sometimes, like identifying what that feeling is. Is it anxiety? Is it stress? Is it what am I feeling? Like how to categorize.
Well, what you can do is just go pleasant, unpleasant.
Dude, that's a good one. That worked.
I mean, really. I mean, it's because why? Why is that helpful? What does unpleasant tell you?
Bad day.
Hmm.
Bad day.
Well, that you're not liking what's happening. Yeah, there may be many different reasons. Yes, Melissa.
I find that if I'm in a good positive mood and then all of a sudden I'm not, I trace it back to a thought I just had.
Right.
I think that the thought was not beneficial or and it's so subtle that you really have to see it.
That's why you have to practice looking at your mind. That's why even sitting quietly every day for a few minutes and just checking in, going, am I calm? Am I agitated? Am I relaxed? Am I playing out, a negative scenario, making myself tense? You want to notice what's going on in your
Well,
mind.
that's where I'm having, that's where I have a hard time is noticing exactly what I'm
Well, quit trying to exactly know.
Mm.
Just observe. We don't have to label it at all. We just need to know. And slowly, slowly over time, that knowing will have more depth to it. Because you'll see the patterns. You'll start to notice that there's a difference between when you're just nervous about trying something new and, and fearful that you're going to lose something you feel that you have to have. So there are distinctions, but at first it's just, So we just, first we need to know that too. So because eventually, it's like Melissa's saying, you have these moments where you recognize the things seem to have been going well and now they're not. And it's because of where you directed your mind to think. You know, like say you were, something just for whatever reason reminds you of a fight you had, or reminds you of something that, that's coming up that you're not looking forward to. Those kinds of things. So I think I've forgotten the last couple, I don't know, whatever. Introduce yourselves to each other. Say hello. Get to know the name of your neighbors. Get up out of your chair and go meet someone you haven't met
I'm Ariana.
Oh, that's a great name.
Alright.
Hello, I forget your name.
I've been here before, though. I'm Mary. Nice to meet you. Glad you came Who is she?
How are you?
Ariana.
Tyler, and gives a tattoo with this place.
You two know each other. Yes. It's her birthday. Today's your birthday.
Yes.
They still use the same one. The same brand. That's the story.
As often as you can, you live locally, of course.
So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. What are you gonna do on this rainy day?
We're gonna go have something to eat and.
Or did you change it to where it's before everything? And how long is it?
Too young, right?
Well, they're getting your energy. Oh, you're getting your
Yes, then you can stop.
So I have on my calendar, this is the day where, which I didn't do, but when we bring our lunch, or these
Yes, it's still
once a month, that's
supposed to
the.
be today. I don't know if it's coming overall, but yes.
So, and I haven't been.
Now it's every Sunday.
So it's Bill,
Or maybe forever.
and in front of Bill is Melissa. And next to Melissa is Vicky. So you might want to put your finger out so that people know who I'm talking about. So next to Vicky is Melissa, who's sitting in the, and in front here, I don't know your name.
I'm Jan.
Jan.
He's visiting me.
Jan is visiting Jane. And so that's Jane, and next to Jane is Marianne, and next to Marianne is Anthony. And then in the back, Francesca and Ron. Okay. And there's Arlene and Jerry and Lou and Jessica. So Jessica, Jerry, Arlene, and Joanna. All right. This is Ash. And who's this? Ralph.
And we have David here,
David.
Benjamin.
Nathan. That's right. And this is Steve. And there's Beata. And there's someone else. And your name is?
John.
John. And John, who are you sitting next to? Vanessa. Okay. So where did I stop? Joanna, Steve, Beata, David, Nathan,
Tyler.
Tyler. And next to Tyler is
Ariana.
Ariana. And Ariana, behind you is Gina and Katrina. Okay? So now we can't say anybody's a stranger in this room. So what does that mean? How does that shift our awareness of them? It just brings them closer. So, it's kind of cool.
It's a bonding.
It's a bonding. It doesn't take much, which really screams volumes about us, our qualities. This is our Buddha nature. Our Buddha nature is drawn to bringing people into circles. It's kind of, so it's really, it doesn't actually take a lot. It's very interesting. It also shows you how we have to work hard at creating our enemies. And we do it very well. So we have to work on that. Anyway. So one of the things I wanted to mention is you can also kind of have these ones from Tikahan. The reason why I'm bringing them is because I had to memorize them all. So there are lots of them. And, so when I was living there, I lived there for 6 months, and you have to act, you have to do everything that they do. So, which is really great. It's a great practice. So you try to remember, these are just things of ways to help you think differently about your ordinary things. So like getting dressed, putting on these clothes, I am grateful to those who made them and to the materials from which they were made. I wish everyone could have enough to wear. And this one I said last week, it's always fun to look back at them and realize, I memorized it incorrectly, but I got the gist. So waking up this morning, I smiled. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment and to look at all beings with eyes of compassion. So when you're really desperate, like I have been in my life, sometimes you print these out on your printer and stick them on the ceiling, so it's the first thing you see, or stick them on the wall, so that's the first thing you see. So it just depends on how habituated you are to being miserable. About what you need to do. I'm so glad you didn't know me then. So, water flows over these hands. May I use them skillfully to preserve our precious planet. So that's one you could put, above the sink. Brushing my teeth and rinsing my mouth, I vow to speak purely and lovingly. When my mouth is fragrant with right speech, a flower blooms in the garden of my heart. Can we tell he's a poet? Yes. This is for answering that phone. Words can travel thousands of miles. May my words create mutual understanding and love. May they be as beautiful as gems, as lovely as flowers. So, what does this require? I mean, first you have to just have it in front of you or remember it, but it also requires you to pause. So like, it was a rule there that you when the phone rang, when anything rang, you had to breathe 3 breaths before doing the next thing. So you just had to stop wherever you were, whenever you heard a bell, and breathe 3 times. And then you said that was through the phone. The phone would ring. So before you answer the phone, practicing this first helped you not answer with impatience or with, I'm in a hurry, or, oh, who is this? You check your, we didn't have caller ID, but, you check your caller ID. So instead, check your mental ID. Check where you are. Oops, I'm going to break this. My bowl, empty now, will soon be filled with precious food. Beings all over the world are struggling to live. How fortunate we are to have enough to live. So these are just ways to bring gratitude, and they may seem, I don't know how they seem to you. When I first started doing this, I felt like they were a little bit childish. Well, yeah, maybe so, but I obviously was childish in my behavior, so that helped me a lot. It's funny how just having moments of very brief gratitude or appreciation for, how good you do have it changes your whole day. It's just weird how it's just like, at the end of the day, you're left with a different kind of support. It's just for your mind, for your, it's just different. So, yes.
20 years ago, I was with a friend and we were sleeping on opposite sides of the room and we had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go do something. And the alarm went off. And I thought, oh God, no, don't make me get up. And I heard my friend's voice from the other side of the room saying, yay, we get to get up. and it hit me like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And I have always remembered that and I share it with you. And there are mornings that most mornings, I strive to say that to myself, yay, I get to get up.
And it can even be helpful. Like, I know that I have Thich Nhat Hanh's voice in my head, so because he would do these talks about how when our unskillful habits of mind arise, that we can greet them with, hello, friend. I know you. I'm not going to listen to you. But it's just this way of trying to retrain myself to be gentle and kind and amused as opposed to hateful, scolding, and nasty about my habits, because those are hard to change. Because what does that happen when we do that? We make them us. Oh, I am just this way. I can't change. I'm evil, or I'm just mean, or I'm just, whatever. And that's not helpful. That keeps us stuck. It's so much more important to just kind of laugh and kind of go, I'm not going to listen to you. Because that's doable, actually. So it reinforces this sense I can change. I can make a choice. So I find that really helpful. So when you're not feeling like you have any control, when you have those moments where you're just overwhelmed by whatever state of mind is arisen, it's really helpful to have something that helps you just stay still. Sometimes physically as well as mentally, but at least mentally. So you can use your breath. You can just go, it's the classic, count to 10. But it's this recognition that our states of mind are impermanent. So if anger arises, it will pass. Impatience, fear, anxiety, all of these things they're impermanent. If we don't feed them with stories, oh, there I am again, blah, 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 am I ever going to change, da, 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 this is really scary, da, da, da. If you just allow yourself to be still and not feed it anything, it really helps. Just remembering impermanence can help. It will change. So this one said, I don't know if y'all feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. So this is the one I taught myself. I wrote myself so that because I was not a nice person. So, I practiced. I had 7 roommates, and the bed's actually touched, so that's all was in the room was the 8 beds, or even 10. Anyway. And so, I practiced. So you get to the door, and as I'm opening the door, I would just think, behind this door, people I love. May I open this door peacefully? So that you interrupt the habit energy of just, whatever you're carrying with you in that moment, just bringing it wherever you go. It's really easy to do. People do it often when they come home to their families from work, and they're bringing all that energy of work. It's really helpful to stop in the parking space and regroup. You know, because remember, you know, maybe where you're going is what brings meaning to your life. So you want to, you know, embrace it, not, you know, shove onto it whatever unskillful crud is in your mind. So, but it's all about finding things that resonate with you. You know, so like when you're reading something that and you just kind of go, wow, I really like that. You know, write it down. You know, so it may help you remember what's meaningful. Does that make sense? Okay. Do I have anything else for use on here? Probably. This is not the best place for things. The best place for things is here. It's like we've gotten so used to having access to a world of information, either through our phones or our computers or whatever, that we don't store any information. And so we want to change that a little bit. But we also want to make sure that the information we're storing helps us, isn't something that is really not going to serve us well. And so then we can bring that to things like, you know, if you notice that what you're listening to in the car fuels agitation, you choose to turn it off. You know, when I was, you know, in some moment of waking up, you know, as I had many moments of those, you know, I remember riding in the car with my parents. Actually, it was my father and my stepmom. But my dad had some radio station on with every, you know, broken love song ever. And I finally just said, man, can we please? I can't, my heart can't take this anymore. You know, so we need to, you know, really look at our conditions. Are the things that we have control over about our conditions, are they helpful to us? And if they're not, and we can change it, go ahead and change it. You know, and so it's things like making sure you have some good things, you know, that are nutritious and stuff-free food in your refrigerator, so that you don't have to eat the bag of potato chips because that's the only thing in your house and you're hungry. You know, so you make sure you have access to things that help you if those are conditions that support you. You know, it's like if you really know you're not getting enough sleep, then you just really make the effort to set an alarm that tells you time to turn off everything and go to bed. You know, so that because that's how we need to support ourselves, and what will help us be the, you know, and act and say the way we want to be. You know? So it's good to take care of ourselves that way. And then when you do it all wrong, just totally all wrong, you know, to have a good laugh. But thank goodness it's all impermanent. I have another day because this one didn't go so well. You know, oh well, you know. So basically, you know, in the Tibetan practice, what the teachers advise is that you start your day with a motivation. You know, you set some intentions, and then at the end of the day, you kind of, just like Benjamin Franklin, you look at it. You know, you kind of go, well, how'd I do? And so anything that you did that you feel like caused harm, you generate genuine regret for, and you make a commitment to trying to do better. You know, and then you rejoice about all those things you did well. So you have to start remembering them. So, because that will help you do them again. You know, and then you can go to sleep with the mind that, oh boy, tomorrow I get to try again. You know, or whatever. It's like, to help to enrich your life with meaning, instead of just chore list, to-do list. Just, to really remember to influence all that you have to do with the mind that fulfills you, So, so now we can practice a little of that now. So we've all, put we really exerted some effort to try to think about things in this way. And that's a really positive activity. So we want to rejoice in that. Just think, oh, well, there's a group of us that, took time out of their busy lives to show up, to try to look at things from a different angle, or just to reinforce the direction that they've already been taking in their lives. I always called when I would go to the Sunday teachings, like that Dharma booster shot, like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I needed that reminder. So, it's just, so rejoice that you're doing that and that there were other people with you. It wasn't like the sole person in the whole world that cares about what your mind is doing. So that's lovely. So according to the teachings, that, these positive efforts result in positive experiences in the future. And so we want to share those with others. So we dedicate our positive efforts and the positive results to others. And so we'll read these verses on page 246? Or from that book I was talking about by Shanti Deva. This is from the dedication chapter, which is the last chapter. So, and His Holiness really likes the dedication chapter. So, all right. So be a little happy about where you are. And then, may all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think benefit each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the mysteries of the world. Okay, so let's see. Tomorrow's Labor Day, but right? This is Sunday, right? Yes. So Jackie's book club discussion continues on death and rebirth, and it's not a scary, topic at all. So don't let the title fool you. But anyway, so they're discussing Lama Yeshe's book on that, which is out there, as well as other suggested readings just about, it's just an opportunity for those of you who might be thinking about such topics like death, to have an opportunity to talk about topics like that. So, and,
Read chapter 1.
Read chapter 1. That's the assignment. So it's a short book, so not too difficult. So that's Mondays from 7 to 9, and then Jackie's lovely. She teaches our meditation classes. So she's she was the secretary to Lama Yeshe, 40 years ago. So she founded the center. So And then Tuesdays are more advanced class for people who've been studying the Lamrim Chenmo and the graduate path, that's a Lamrim. But and then Thursdays is our Discovering Buddhism. We start How to Meditate this week. It's the second module in 13 or something. And it's also the Lamrim. It's just, it's the, the first overview kind of thing, whereas Tuesday night's like, for the 17th time you're going through, because it's all the same stuff. So, I'm sorry.
Guru Puja in Wednesday.
Oh, and then there's Guru Puja on Wednesday. I really should look at the calendar. Okay, Guru Puja. So Wednesday at 7. That usually takes about an hour and a half. And then the Discovering Buddhism is for 2 hours on Thursday. And that's it, right? Yay. Okay. Thank you. Set an intention for your Sunday or whatever you're doing next. Like, I intend to drive home safely, which means I'll pay attention while I'm driving. So, thank you.
Thank you.
What's your last name?